Welcome back to class. In this lesson, you're going to be learning the three things you need to build a website. Now, number one is a domain. For you to build a website, you need something called a domain. What is a domain? A domain is simply the address of your website. For instance, every house has an address, right? The same way every website has an address online. For instance, google.com is an address, the address of Google website online. So whenever you're coming to Google and you go on search engine and type google.com, it takes you to Google website. So your own website will have an address, and you need to buy or register what is called a domain name. That domain will naturally carry the name of your business, because if you already have a business existing, the natural thing is that that same name is what you take to the registrar. Of course, there are several registrars that registers a domain name, but of course, I'm going to be introducing you to a particular one that will make that easier for you. All right, so the domain is the address of the business online. So every website has a domain, and this domain also has something called an extension. So for instance, Google, then .com is the extension. You can have .org. So .com is basically for commercial businesses, that's for-profit businesses, while .org is for non-profit, not-for-profit organization. We have other extensions like .edu, which is for educational institution, like Harvard.edu or .edu. We also have for military organization .mil. We have for we have other extensions. We even have what is called top-level domain for countries. For instance, for UK is .uk, for South Africa is .za, for Nigeria it is .ng, and so on and so forth. So that is for domain. So you need to buy or register a domain. Domain requires that you're going to pay some money to be able to register your domain. And of course, that will happen in the next lesson. So the second thing you need to build a website is called hosting. What is hosting? Hosting is simply the home of your content, where you will host your content, right? The same way you have a house, and the house has an address. Now, when you get inside the house houses some things. For instance, if you get into a house, you're going to see furniture, you're going to see electronics, you're going to see human beings, and several other things. So the house, inside the house, is like your hosting. So your hosting is where you're going to be uploading the content you put on your website. For instance, you're going to be uploading images, you're going to be writing text, you're going to be putting video, graphics, all those things you're going to put on your website will be inside your hosting. So the hosting is like a storage where you put your content, so that when somebody goes to your address, that's your domain, the person will be able to see the content you have placed on your website. So you're going to pay for the hosting. So the hosting is like buying a space on a server, right? On a server, of course, cloud-based, right? So the server is somewhere, and of course, it's been networked and connected. So yours is to buy a portion of the server. So they're going to allocate a space, maybe 10 gig or 15 gig, depending on the amount you're buying. Then they will give you a login, right, called control panel, cPanel. When you log in, you now have access to that your space. You begin installing, putting things there. Whatever you put there, people can see when they come to your website. I think this is the layman explanation of what a hosting is. So that is a hosting. That's the second thing you need to build a website. Now, the third thing you need to build a website is called Content Management System, or CMS for short. What is CMS? It is simply a software, right? A software application that enables you to build the website. And the software we're going to be using for this website is called WordPress. Now, WordPress is not the only content management system. There are several other ones. You have Wix, you have Squarespace, you have Magento, you have Joomla. There are several of them, several running into hundreds and thousands of content management systems, all right? But WordPress is unique in itself. Why? WordPress is free. So among these three things I've listed, WordPress, the CMS, that is a WordPress, you are not going to pay any money for it. It's totally free. It's an open source application built by generous software developers, and they have been maintaining it for free. They are not charging anybody any kobo. You're not paying anything, no single cent, no single dollar. You're not spending anything to install WordPress. So WordPress is totally free. And WordPress is the biggest content management system online. In fact, 1 out of every 3 websites you see is driven by WordPress. 1 out of 3 of every website you see is driven by, in fact, including whitehouse.gov, is driven by WordPress. So WordPress is very robust, is very secured, is constantly updated, is fresh every day, and you can trust WordPress. All right, so that is why we're using one. And WordPress is very easy for anybody to build a website, no matter your technical level. So these 3 things are what you need to build a website. I hope you understand that. Number 1 is domain, number 2 is hosting, and number 3 is your content management system, which is WordPress. So in the next lesson, we're going to be proceeding to go and buy our domain and hosting. All right, so we're going to do that together. So I will see you in the next lesson.